You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the resistance. Thursday, November 1st, I'm Dean Obeidallah. I'm on Twitter. I am needy all the time, at Dean Obeidallah. Or you can watch the live stream at Dean Obeidallah or on Facebook.com/Dean of Radio, or drop me an email. So yes, there are now 5 days into the most important election of our lives. And I have to tell you, people are looking at different things in polls. I tell you, I look at the polls daily. I study them. It's all about trends. Don't be taken back either way of one good poll or one bad poll. Trends show, and this is not to get people psyched up, it's the truth. It is breaking back to Democrats, meaning Senate races that were not in play, except for North Dakota, I'm going to be honest, I think that might be out of reach. The other ones, many of them are now back in play, including Texas with Beto O'Rourke. Today, new poll, 2 polls in 2 days, down by 3 points and 4 points, which is the margin of error. Meaning Texans, you come out, you vote. Go, Texas, go. You can do this. Get ready to cruise for America's sake, I got to tell you. So here's got some good and bad stuff going on, as usual. And Trump is freaking today. By the way, tomorrow, the first Friday of every month, there's a jobs report. His freaking tonight, because he gets a heads up, might be because tomorrow's jobs report's not as good as he wants. I'm not sure. But in the past, he's tweeted, jobs report's going to be great. We'll see earlier in the morning if he does that. If not, but here's some upbeat stuff. Here was Oprah Winfrey today campaigning on behalf of Stacey Abrams in Georgia in a neck-and-neck race with Brian Kemp. Here's Oprah clip number 1.
I'm here today because of Stacey Abrams. And I'm here today because of the men and because of the women who were lynched, who were humiliated, who were discriminated against, who were suppressed, who were repressed and oppressed for the right for the equality at the polls. And I want you to know that their blood has seeped into my DNA, and I refuse to let their sacrifices be in vain. I refuse. And I'm here today don't let nobody turn you around. You can't let their sacrifices be in vain.
Absolutely. There's Oprah Winfrey. And you know, for white people, you take it for granted voting. Black people literally were killed, and we've covered it so much. We had Carol Anderson on earlier, the professor who wrote the great book, One Person, No Vote, about African Americans being killed simply for the right to vote. And there's Oprah reminding everyone. So progressive white people, even though no one in your family, unless you're one of the few people who actually had white allies in your family who were hurt or killed during the civil rights movement, you took it for granted. If you're out there, if you're listening, you're probably engaged. But folks, if you're thinking about not voting for a second, it is the legacy of those who've died for simply the right to pull a lever that we take for granted. There you go. Oprah did a great job there. And then the response to Oprah Winfrey, Mike Pence was in Georgia today pushing his agenda of Christian Sharia law and said, I'd like to remind Stacey and Oprah and Will Ferrell, because Will Ferrell campaigned there as well. I'm kind of a big deal too, says Pence, adding, I've got a message for all of Stacey Abrams' liberal Hollywood friends. This ain't Hollywood. This is Georgia. And Georgia wants a governor that's going to put Georgia values and Georgia first. And Brian Kemp's going to do that. Interesting. What are GOP values? I'm not sure if they're Georgia values or not, but let's take a look at what we're seeing. What are GOP values? And they are Trump values. Trump is the GOP and the GOP is Trump. Here is what's going on right now. We have Donald Trump. Some pundits and political and media people today were going, Donald Trump is closing argument. He's pushing for immigration. No, he's pushing hate. He's not pushing immigration. He's pushing hate. Let's be blunt about this. We're adults. There's no need to play games with this. Last night, in fact, yesterday, he took his little hate show down to Florida to support Ron DeSantis against Andrew Gillum, the mayor of Tallahassee. Fabulous guy, would be an amazing governor, would make history as the first African-American governor in the history of Florida. But first, here's Donald Trump earlier in the day on Fox News sharing his views of Andrew Gillum. Here's clip number 3.
Here's a guy that, in my opinion, is a stone-cold thief. And his city, Tallahassee, is known as the most corrupt in Florida and one of the most corrupt in the nation. He's a disaster. And how he's even close to being tied is hard to believe. But Florida can't have. If Florida has a governor like that, and I know Florida better than I know practically anywhere, Florida will become Venezuela. It will be a disaster.
And, of course, Donald Trump had called Andrew Gillum a thief, his exact words, thief, on Twitter. Just to be clear, there's been no evidence to prove Andrew Gillum took a bribe, or there's no evidence that he's under investigation. That is the Florida newspapers. In fact, we had Mayor Gillum on the show about a month or so ago. He's not under investigation by the FBI. But it doesn't matter, because remember Brett Kavanaugh, innocent until proven guilty? No, that doesn't apply when you're black to Donald Trump. Remember the Central Park Five? He called for a death penalty after they were arrested. Turns out they were innocent. Does not matter to Donald Trump. That is GOP values. And then last night at the rally, here's Ron DeSantis with Donald Trump sitting next to him, beaming, smiling gleefully. And here's Ron DeSantis. And listen to the crowd in Florida chant about Andrew Gillum. And listen what they're saying. Here's clip number 4.
Andrew Gillum can't work. He's running on impeaching the president. For what? You know, I don't know what he's thinking about impeachment. I mean, this is a guy that took bribes from an undercover FBI agent, took money from a lobbyist, did favors for the lobbyist. Maybe we should impeach Gillum as mayor of Tallahassee.
And that was audio from a Klan rally in Florida last night. Actually, it was and there was Trump smiling. They're cheering, lock him up. Remember Brett Kavanaugh, innocent until proven guilty? That's America. We all heard them say that. Andrew Gillum has not only not been convicted, he's not been charged, and he's not under investigation, but it doesn't matter. In their view, in the view of Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, Andrew Gillum is guilty of something, of being an uppity black man, for daring to challenge white power structure. That's what he's guilty of. So lock him up. And think about this. Andrew Gillum, and the race is neck and neck, folks. If you're in Florida, this is not a sure thing. It's looking good, not a sure thing. What they're doing now is spreading the seeds of hatred of Andrew Gillum and try to delegitimize him same way Trump tried to do to Obama. So when Gillum is mayor, Republicans in the state could say he's a criminal. He shouldn't be governor. This is the devious, evil game that's going on. Donald Trump is not pushing anything but hate. And he continued on, Donald Trump, with now ginning up fear of immigrants in the caravan. Because Donald Trump, he promised during the campaign great health care for everyone, bringing down prescription drug prices. Are your health care costs less today than they were 2 years ago? Are your prescription drug costs less today than they were 2 years ago? How about your gas prices? Mine are up 30%. Have your wages gone up? Most people know. It's very slow growth, 0.6%. 0.6% on average in America the last year. Gas prices up 30%. Inflation skyrocketing. A lot of us are taking a pay cut. Donald Trump cannot respond to that, so now his focus is doubling, tripling down on immigration. And it's just hatred, hatred, hatred. Here's one thing he played. I'll play a little clip, and it's a lie, by the way. Donald Trump's new campaign ad he put out yesterday, later in the day before the show. And we'll play a little bit of it. Right now, it's clip number 5.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please step out of the hallway. If it's dead, break up soon, kill more.
So, if you couldn't hear that clear, that's a man, Luis Bracamontes, a Mexican immigrant who was convicted of killing 2 police officers in 2014. Now, the ad goes on to show images. Illegal immigrant, Luis Bracamontes, killed our people. Then it says in big letters, Democrats let him into our country. Democrats let him stay. Then there's pictures of the caravan. And then says Democrats are going to let more criminals in. First of all, a lot of lies there. Bracamontes first came to the U.S. in 1997. He was deported by Bill Clinton for selling drugs. Guess when he returned? Under George W. Bush in 2001. He was deported a second time in 2001. He got back in the country in 2002 under Bush and has remained here, stayed under Bush, and then, of course, under Obama. How could Obama find him? But this is where we are. It does not matter. So at the time of the shooting, Bracamontes was technically not legally in the country. He had entered during George Bush. Donald Trump is telling his base he entered under Democrats. The lies don't end. the lies don't end. And it's just simply about white supremacy. This is what we're seeing in front of us. And, Donald Trump highlighting all the time these crimes by these undocumented immigrants and holding President Obama somehow and Democrats responsible for a man who committed a crime in 2014, horrific crime of killing police officers, despicable. And he's convicted. He's getting the death penalty. But if you're going to use that logic that President Obama is responsible for any heinous crime committed under his presidency that perhaps his policies could have an impact on, then what about Donald Trump? What about the Tree of Life synagogue murder we just saw this week? How come Donald Trump's not responsible for that? What about the terrorist who killed Heather Heyer, the white supremacist? Or the man who killed 58 in Las Vegas? Or the student who killed 17 in Parkland, Florida? Or the man at Southland Springs, Texas church who killed 26? All native born. All born in America. Almost everyone using an AR-15 that Donald Trump never took a second to try to change policy to save lives. How come Donald Trump's not responsible for that? Because we know why. Donald Trump won't talk about that. He'll only talk about the undocumented immigrant to define all by these scary people, making them all scary in his view. I think the media in the future should write, anytime they arrest someone or someone's convicted, their immigration origin story. I'd like to see native-born defendant, native-born convicted. Why don't we do the opposite? See how upset the right wing would get. Because they want to highlight when someone's undocumented or an immigrant. I want to highlight when they're born in America, such as the terrorists who killed Jewish Americans in that temple, native-born. The terrorists who sent bombs out on behalf of Donald Trump, native-born. Heather Heyer's murder, native-born. The murder at Parkland, Florida High School, native-born. Southern Springs, Texas shooter, native-born. How about that in the media? Maybe then people go like, oh my God. And guess what? They're all white too. They're native-born and they're white. Is there a connection? Native-born white people? They have their hands on weapons. They're angry. They're killing people. Maybe we can have some policies to save lives, but we won't. We're not like that. And what does Donald Trump do today? He says, not only we send 15,000 troops, this is unreal. He said, and we have the audio. This is Donald Trump today about the idea of the new clip that I sent. You have the new one? And here's Donald Trump just a short time before the show about the idea of authorizing the military to shoot people in the caravan. You've got to hear this.
Anybody throwing stones, rocks, like they did to Mexico and the Mexican military, Mexican police, where they badly hurt police and soldiers of Mexico, we will consider that a firearm. Because there's not much difference when you get hit in the face with a rock, which, as you know, it was very violent a few days ago. Very, very violent.
Actually, a stone is not the same as a deadly weapon. Having our president direct our armed forces to shoot people in a caravan, and you've seen the footage, they're all clumped together. If one person throws a rock, they fire into that and kill innocent women and children. That's not the act of a president. That's the act of a war criminal. That's what that would be. That would be a war crime. Because a rock is not a deadly weapon. A boulder, maybe. A rock that someone's throwing? No. You can't shoot and kill people. You can't use lethal force on that. But Donald Trump doesn't care. Will they really do this? I don't think so. I had military people tweet to me, I'm a veteran. We would never honor those orders, and we don't think we'd ever be ordered to do that. So is it red meat for the base? Yeah, but look at the red meat Trump is giving this week because he's panicking. He sees the poll numbers. He gets it. They might lose the House. They might lose the Senate. They might lose 5 to 10 governorships. And this very week, what have we seen? We've seen Donald Trump say, I'm going to change the Constitution with the stroke of a pen and suspend the 14th Amendment. And let's be clear, that's what that is. And who knows what he'll suspend next if he could do that. I'm going to send 15,000 troops, and I'm going to tell them to shoot to kill if anyone in that caravan throws a rock. At what point is the United States of America sanctioned by the UN for this man? That's where we're heading. This is, of course, we have a veto power in the Security Council, but this is where we're going to, folks. So let's take we have a lot of guests tonight. We're going to have our commitment to have candidates on. Harley Rhoda from California, 48th District, running against Dana Rohrabacher, will join us in about 20 minutes. We'll take calls. Then at the top of the hour, we have another guest for a few minutes talking about a big march this weekend. Then we got Harvey Kaye, professor from Wisconsin, at the bottom of the hour. But in between, we're going to jam in a lot of calls. So let's take some breaks. Come back, take one quick break, come back, take your calls. 866-997-4748 right here on the Dino Bedalla Show.
progressive values are the best of American values, and we need to keep fighting for them to save our country.
Don't go anywhere. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress 127. You've heard Dean's thoughts. Now it's your turn. 866-99-SIRIUS. 866-997-4748. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show
on Sirius XM Progress 127.
And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live. Let's take some calls right here. Here is, let's see, Summer from Wyoming. How are you, Summer?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Fine. So I see in the notes what you're going to talk to me. I think we're on the same wavelength. Unfortunately, we are on the same path here.
Well, I just have to say that it's not just people from Muslim descent and African Americans. I come from a Jewish bloodline. Mm-hmm. We don't have synagogues out here in our small town, but the president's hate speech is just outrageous. It reeks of the propaganda before World War II. Mm-hmm. It desensitizes people to the negative things and the encouragement of harassment. And when does it get to the point where we can say, this is the president's fault because he's encouraging this? And it's awful that that's our president as a person from Jewish descent, as a woman. Yep. It's horrendous. And so many people are looking at it and saying, oh, he's just, talking out of the wrong side. He's just trying to get attention. But people are taking it seriously. They're taking it to heart. And it's getting to the point where our churches aren't safe. Our children aren't safe in their schools. It's not safe to be a female. It's not safe to have, to be from, be Native American. It's not safe to be African American. It's really only safe in our country to be a middle-aged white man. And it's sad to say.
And Summer, you touch on something, a point that I try to make, and I wrote about it briefly. The idea that Donald Trump, his anti-Muslim bigotry emboldened anti-Semites because they're hearing a man who's in power openly demonize a minority faith. And when you unleash that, you uncork that hatred, it's not limited to just Muslims. It goes against all minorities. That's what happens. That history has shown us that. And so Donald Trump has blood on his hands from the shooting, even though he did not spew open anti-Semitism. If they went to a mosque, everyone would have said, Trump, look what you did. But by Trump demonizing Muslims, he makes anti-Semites feel like my views are fine too, because they tend to hate Muslims too. This shooter who killed people in the Tree of Life synagogue also railed against Muslims. He called Muslims evil.
Right.
And just happened he went to a synagogue instead of a mosque for his own reasons, it seemed, because he was marinating in anti-Semitism for so long. That was his number one target. But I bet his number two target would have been a mosque because he called Muslims evil too in his social media posts.
Right. And it's like the poem, They Came for the Socialists, and I said nothing because I wasn't a socialist.
Right.
They came for the Unionists, and I said nothing because I was a Unionist. And they came for the Jews, and I said something, and I said nothing because I wasn't a Jew. And by the time they came for me, no one was left to speak for me.
Yep.
And it's planting seeds of hatred and saying that it's okay. And he can stand up there and say, I'm not a racist. It's fine. But your one statement compared to your actions and your constant messages is it's a hypocrisy, and we all see it. And in the news, they keep saying, Trump's supporters, Trump's base. How does he have a base? How is there anyone out there that has?
Sadly, it's there. 42%. That's right now. That's the average of approval. 42%. About 30% of that. About 25% of Americans strongly approve of Donald Trump. Strongly. That's truly a white supremacist base right there. I think that's a pretty easy way to quantify it. Others at least tolerate and have no problem with white supremacy, with bigotry, with sexism. A man who's intentionally tried to undermine the Me Too movement because he wants to be free from responsibility for his actions in sexually assaulting women over the years. So you've got a core of Americans. The other side of Americans who strongly disapprove Donald Trump, that's about 15 points to 16, 17 points higher, who strongly, not just disapprove, but strongly disapprove. And those are the people who tend to vote in the midterms. And some are the whole focus. The first step is taking the House back and maybe the Senate. If we took the Senate back, game's over. He can't do anything because no judges get confirmed. Forget legislation, of course. No judges get confirmed. We do the right oversight between the Senate and the House. They investigate Donald Trump. The man is a criminal. There's no doubt about that. We've gone through it on the show. I don't say that hyperbolically. I said as a lawyer, he's a criminal. And I don't know if we're going to get the Senate just because of the layout of the map. If it was a different map, if it was a normal, even map, we would win it, no doubt. Because we're going to win probably 5 to maybe 9 or potentially 10 governorships. This is unreal. It might be the most governorships ever flipped. We're going to see how this works out on Tuesday. So everyone's got to vote, Summer. And my heart's with you. It's a dark place we're in right now. And the light, a little bit of light's going to shine on Tuesday if we come out and vote. And we're going to feel much better on Wednesday. We're going to feel better about the country. We're going to move forward to 2020 with our focus to remove this man and close a chapter on a dark, dark time in our history of this nation. And hopefully never speak of Trump again. And everything, his picture should be taken out. He should be not even spoken of when he's gone. Gone.
Right. And on a little bit lighter note, as far as voting goes, my 7th grade social studies teacher told us that you have to vote because if you don't vote, you can't complain about the outcome. And so as soon as I hit 18, I voted every chance I could because I wanted the right to complain.
Very nice. So if you want to complain, I've heard that vote, and then you can complain all you want. All right, Summer, nice for the call. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. All right, let's take another call here. Here is Andrew from my home state of Jersey. Andrew, how are you? Andrew, you there?
Hi, Dean.
How are you, my friend?
Yes. Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure. You're a Jersey guy. I always give a little preference to Jersey people. I can't help myself.
Yeah. This whole immigration stuff that Trump has brought up is really just a distraction. It's to distract us from the fact that the Republicans can't run on their record of the past 2 years because they haven't really accomplished anything.
Except for a tax cut for the wealthy, right?
Yeah, and they can't run on what they want to do in the next 2 years. And if they retain control of both houses of Congress, they're coming for our health care.
Yep. And Mitch McConnell, folks, that's not a scare tactic. Andrew's saying Mitch McConnell in an interview 2 weeks ago said point blank, we have unfinished business, and if we keep Congress, we're going to go back and revisit the ACA, meaning taking care of that. And in this, the written out, and Andrew, so it's clear for everyone, in both the budgets draft by the House and the Senate, their GOP budget, they call for massive cuts to Medicare. Massive cuts. And I'm not saying that to scare anyone, and Medicaid. And I've talked about on the show, we're talking if they have their way, there will be cuts. They can call it all different ways of different funding system, but on its face, no doubt, it are cuts. And so someone like my mom will have less benefits. There's no doubt. That's the reality. And that's not trying to scare you. They put it in writing what they want to do. And I don't know why Democrats and the media does not cover that more.
Virtually every incumbent Republican congressperson has voted to turn Medicare into a coupon. So
yes.
Under their scheme, seniors would no longer get a health insurance plan. They would get a coupon towards the purchase of a health insurance plan. And your parents, your grandparents, even you, if you're of age of being Medicare eligible, would be responsible for paying the difference. Can you imagine your senior parents or grandparents trying to figure
My mom
out
is a senior, and
which
she's
health insurance plan is going to be right for them?
And you know, right?
And then they're going to be ripped off by a sleazy insurance salesman.
And Andrew is again, he's being 100% accurate. That's not hyperbolic. It's essentially a voucher program. And you would buy insurance because the GOP is owned by the insurance companies, and this just raises the revenue for insurance companies. That's why they're against Medicare for all. That's why they're against pre-existing condition coverage, because it hurts the bottom line of insurance companies. In their view, insurance companies have done fine on the ACA. They're making money hand over fist. They're doing remarkable. Look at the earnings. So they're a little less worried about that, but they want to gut and change Medicare and Medicaid. And to remind people, Medicaid is not just for poor people. Over 60% of seniors in nursing homes are on Medicaid because they had to burn through their assets to be eligible to live in a nursing home and have it paid for by Medicaid. So, we're talking about a situation where, I think we should be helping people in need, but even people in the middle, like, oh, Medicaid, well, blah, blah, blah. It's more than you think. It's helping so many people in this nation. So it's Andrew, I agree with you. Their record has failed, and I wonder if tomorrow's earnings report's not going to be great. A jobs report is not going to be great, and that's why Trump is really freaking the last few days because he knows what's up. I don't think it'll be horrible, but even an uptick of 0.2 or 3 in the unemployment would be very bad for the narrative that Donald Trump's trying to paint that it's a miracle. And it's not a miracle. It's a solid economy. It's not a miracle economy. It's solid.
Two numbers. The
wage growth
overhead for administration of Medicare is around 4%. For private health insurance, it's 20%.
Yeah.
So if the Republicans get their way and turn Medicare into a coupon, guess who's paying that difference? Our seniors will, either out of pocket or through lower coverage. That's the big difference. Is that administrative overhead, which will go right into the pockets of insurance company executives. That's what the Republicans want to do. They're coming for our health care.
And that's not even being over the top or in any way. That's exactly what they put in writing, what they want to do. And Mitch McConnell reaffirmed it 2 weeks ago. That is their plan. So if you care about Medicare, if you care about pre-existing coverage being still coverage of pre-existing health conditions, there's one place to vote. Democrats, because Republicans are not going to protect that. We created it. Democrats created it without even one single Republican vote. All right, Andrew, nice chatting with you, my friend. So should we take a quick break? Take a quick break. Be right back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show right after this.
Look, it's time the media start calling out Trump's false statements for what they are. Lies. Trump is a liar. And by the looks of it, he's lying every day and twice on Sundays.